Hey, this is going to be well, I guess it's going to kind of turn into a series at this point, but a couple of videos that capture some of the training we did in Google Sheets. So Google Sheets is going to be a little bit of this and a little bit of that, just things that I find have made my workflow more productive and just things that have saved me a million hours in my day. What we're going to cover in this video is going to be some formatting quick tips, so paintbrush and colors, proper capitalization, flip it and rotate, and selecting in mass, and then unique and remove duplicates. The next video, we'll do these next two, and I'll do some more videos for the other slides we didn't get to in my first session. So first and foremost, here is the basic layout of a spreadsheet. Now, I will say any of the graphics in here, they're not my own. This is my shout out for copyright. I pulled these all off the internet because who's got time to make these brand new when they're already made? So shout out to the people that made them. But here you'll see you've got the heading up top, your menu bar, just like you do in any sort of work platform, then a formula bar, which is going to be really important to us. You see that formula signal right there, symbol right there, and then you've got your rows which go horizontally and your columns that go vertically. You'll see rows are numbered 1 through however many you need, and then columns are going to be lettered A, B, C, and they will continue to letter wrap past Z. They'll go to AA, AB, AC, AD. So you can get an impressive amount of columns in here, and we'll talk about how to clean those up if you don't want all of those extra columns. But the other important thing is down here. These are going to be your tabs that are available to you in that particular spreadsheet, and then or workbook at that point. Each singular one is a spreadsheet. The entire thing is a workbook. But you've got a button here that lets you add, and then there's a triple line right here that lets you see all of your tabs in case you were to have more than what displays initially on the screen. You'll see a triple line bar here that you can click and kind of scroll through those for easy access. Important to know when we talk about formulas, and we will be doing some formulas in this video, so I just want to touch on this real quickly, is that formulas are basically us telling Excel sheets we want it to do something. Now, we can just put data into Excel sheets all day long, right? We can use it to store information, to reference back to later, but we could also make it do things for us. And in order for it to do things for us, we've got to tell it, hey, I'm about to tell you what to do. And that is going to be that equal sign. That's telling Google Sheets that, hey, I'm about to start telling you what to do. The function name is what you're actually telling it you want to execute, what you want it to do. There are hundreds upon thousands of different functions available. Some are really simple, like sum, that's how you add things together. Subtract, divide, average, right? So those are some that people may be more familiar with, but we're going to get into some maybe lesser known or ones that I use all the time that I feel like are just really functional for what we do day to day. So you're going to write out a function name, and then that will prompt an open parentheses. And then at that point, each function is going to have a different set of information it wants, right? Depending on what you're asking it to do. It's going to ask you for some reference cells. It's going to ask you what do you want in case X, Y, and Z happens. And that's all the instructions for how you want it to run that particular function are what's going to go between the parentheses. This is made up, right? This is not a real thing, so don't go try to type in function name. It's not going to do anything. But this is here just to show you that when you drop in any sort of reference to a cell inside of a spreadsheet, you're going to have that column letter and a row number or some flavor of that. And anytime it has acknowledged, hey, you've put a piece of information in here and that's a reference I know how to reference and go to and use and it's going to work, it's going to change colors, right? It's going to go from being black text into whatever color is next in its color cycle. So it'll typically start with that kind of macaroni orange color has been my experience. And then each time it references that same cell throughout your function, it's going to be that same color, which is nice. It'll also put a corresponding ticked color box around that particular cell just for a visual representation of what C2 is, or whatever set of reference data you have there. Once you want to put the next piece of data in, you've got to add a comma. Right? And that's just telling it, hey, this is something new for you. And then you would continue on with whatever pieces of information it's still asking you for. Here in a minute, this will be important, but just know that anytime you want to put text in, true text, that's not affecting or referencing something, but truly, I just want you to populate this word back out to me, spit this back out to me. Or you want it to go look for that particular word. Anytime we're looking for text or referencing text specifically, we've got to put it in quotation marks. So that's there for you as well. And when it acknowledges that, yes, that is formatted in a way that I can understand it, it will change colors as well. Once you're done with a function, you're going to close it out with that parentheses. You can put as many functions as you want into a formula. You can turducken the mess out of this. You can, and I have on many occasions, but you really have to be aware of what you're doing. And there's some tips and tricks I can get into later on how to make that a little easier to keep up with really stacked and, turducken is the only word I can think of for it, but turduckened functions. So we've got that function symbol, so that's going to go in that same place in that sheet. You always have to start with an equal sign. You got your function name. It's going to populate a parentheses. You're going to put in the information it's asking you for, and then in that parentheses to acknowledge that you are done with your information input. Again, this is another image I got off the internet. Shout out to the internet. But this is just to show you can have multiple functions inside of a formula. And you'll see, like I was referencing earlier, this is how we indicate a range with that colon in between them. And you'll see that that first set of data that we're referencing is that macaroni orange color, and it's put a nice ticked box around it just for easy reference. And again, the second set of information we're referencing is that ticked purple. I can't remember if there's a specific color order they go in, but you'll start to notice when you have a bunch of referenced information that they have pretty good wide range of colors. I don't know that I have found that they repeat colors, but anyway, to get us back to actually starting, we're going to go into the Staffordty Schoology page and scroll all the way down to the bottom. And this is where I'm storing it for now, just for easy access for those that weren't able to attend, but it will be kind of filed into the staff development materials for Friday the 8th, which is when we did this training. So it will be accessible there as well. But you will click into this Google Sheets and grab the spreadsheet for session. I may rename that along the way, but this is going to be that spreadsheet. It's going to be like a playground. The second one here is questions or requests. If along the way you think, oh, I have a question and she has not addressed it in these videos, I'm happy to help in any way, shape, or form. I absolutely love Google Sheets. I'm a definite nerd when it comes to Google Sheets. So for this, you'll want to click into that spreadsheet for session. If you get this angry or sad gray box, you're going to want to come up to the top right-hand corner and grab this box with an arrow pointing out of the upper right-hand corner, and that's going to jump out into another tab. It's going to force you to make a copy. This is good. We want that. Fantastic. Oh, you know what? Hold on. I've got to, give me a second. I forgot to actually take this bad boy back to his original. Oh, he'll be fine. Let me clean him up real quick. Whoops. Ignore me for the moment. Okay, so this is how it should have come. I apologize, but what we're going to do first and foremost, right, we have our formula bar up here. Now we know about that. We've got our tabs here at the bottom, which have the different tasks that I'm going to be teaching you about in this training. And then add a sheet button down here, and then those triple bars that have all of the different tabs that I was referencing. The very first thing I'm going to pull this over to my other screen so I don't forget to say stuff, is going to be the paintbrush. So you'll notice that we have in this first cell, which is A1, right? We're going to reference it based on what column it's in and then by what row it's in. So A1 is red and bolded and white text. And I want the rest of these to look the same, but I don't want to have to try to figure out what color did I use. Are these all matching? I don't want to take a lot of time to do it. So to do this, there is a really nice, simple way. You click on the formatting that you do want to replicate, and then you're going to come up next to the zoom options, and there's a paint roller right in between the print icon and the zoom levels. There's a paint roller. It used to be a paintbrush back in the day, but it's a paint roller now. Yay. And it says paint format. You're going to click on that once. It's going to turn blue to indicate that it is currently activated and you have painted a formatting. And now this is going to be a one-time use. So if I want to paint on the rest of the title bar, I need to make sure that I click and drag to grab everything I want to use. Because once I've done that and I let go, it's going to paint that same formatting type, and you'll notice this is no longer in that blue active color. I did see in the training there were some issues, and I'll show you a common one I saw, is when they activated this, instead of clicking and dragging just inside of that B1 cell, people were grabbing the blue dot. And I'm going to teach you in true depth what this blue dot does, but for now, I'll show you what that would have done. Right? It really copied over this cell's content and formatting all the way across. And that's not what we wanted or intended to do. So if that's an error that you got, just make sure that you are clicking into B1 and then dragging. All right. Next thing we're going to look at is colors. I get asked all the time, hey, you seem to use the same set of colors, and I really like those colors, which is flattering. Thank you. I appreciate it. I spent a lot of time picking out colors. And you'll notice 9 times out of 10 that the paint bucket here is going to be this default set of colors. And honestly, those are just not my jam unless, if I'm doing something that I want to look at long term. I just don't care that much to look at this set of colors. What we can do, and I did add my personal page of colors, and when I've activated that, you'll see now, and that's just a tab with all of them copied over, and you'll see now that all of those colors populate. I have other tabs that I use and other color that I enjoy using, but this is probably my most common different sets of color spans that I use. And so anytime you add this tab, which I personally keep in a reference spreadsheet where I keep all the things I want to remember about Excel in a reference spreadsheet, and I have this colors tab there, I'll just come in and copy and paste this into my new spreadsheet that I want the colors to be available in. And then as soon as I paste them into a tab in a spreadsheet, that's going to populate them here in the paint bucket. 9 times out of 10, I just go in and hide my sheet, and you never know it's there. But all my colors are now there. If after you've used all the colors you think you want to use and you don't want that color tab to be there, you're welcome to delete it, but it's going to take out any unused colors that weren't used anywhere else in your workbook. That may change soon. That is a request that's been pending out there, that they keep those colors as like kind of a memory stamp within that workbook, that you had put those in there at some point in time, but I'm not sure if that's coming. Next is, in this B column, you'll notice that all of these names, all of these are first names, but they are not capitalized. I don't know about you, but that bothers me. I'm also don't have the kind of time in my life where I'm going to sit there and delete the first letter of each name and retype it, but I know it's going to bother me. So there are some really easy ways to fix this, and we're going to do it together. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a helper column, and these are just like temporary columns that we're going to do some things with that we can delete later. So we're going to click on the letter B, that's going to select the entire column, and we're going to right click and insert a column to the right. It doesn't matter if it's to the right or the left. You can also move these, click and drag them, had you put it in the wrong place and you want it into the same place I have it. And we can do that with rows too, just by the way. You can move these. You can click and drag large sections. Yeah, okay. Anyway, just some extra goodies in case you did not know that. So what we're going to do for this is we're going to use a really simple formula. And our very first formula we're going to use is called proper, is what its full name is. And the very first thing we're going to do is we are going to, you can start typing in here and it'll populate up here. I usually will type up to this bar up here and start typing up there. It's just easier for me to read. We're going to start with an equal sign. As you can see, it populates down here as well. I'm going to type equals, and we're going to start typing the word proper. And you'll notice there, as I get into PR, there's still tons of initial formulas that it thinks I might want to use. I can either click on the word proper here, and it explains in a really short explanation of what these each do, which is nice. Or I can go ahead and type it all out. You'll see it says tab to accept. And now I have a formula started, and it's already populated that initial open parentheses where it's waiting for me to give it some information. Now, 9 times out of 10, unless I've used it before or I have Googled it, I have no idea what information it wants from me, what input it wants to be able to make this happen. So there is a question mark, a blue question mark box that will pop up. And if you click on it, it's going to tell you what it wants. And this is a very, very simple formula, so it only has one input that it wants. On some others that we'll use, it's going to want more things, and it's going to put a comma between each one and tell you exactly what order things need to go in, because it's very, very important that things are ordered correctly for it to understand how to execute what you want. So I'm going to X that out. For this particular formula, we are needing to capitalize this word in this box. So I'm just going to click on it. I could have also typed B2, but I can select it just the same, and I find it's easier that way. At this point, you'll see that it's given you an example of what this formula, as you have it selected, is going to generate. That looks good to me. So you can either hit enter, and it's going to know, hey, you're done with this with your input, and it's going to put a ending parentheses for you. If you're doing things more complexly, when you start to build those in upon itself and within each other, then you're going to want to make sure those ending parentheses match, and it helps you out with that. But for the sake of habit, I'm going to go ahead and add that ending parentheses and then hit enter. Now, something else wonderful has happened. A few years ago, Google Sheets started adding this option of suggested autofill, which I am absolutely here for. 9 times out of 10, it knows what I want. Unless I have messed this up, then I typically will say yes. So in this case, right, I can hit yes. You'll notice as you hover over it, also gives you the keyboard shortcuts. If you get to a place where you're like, I don't even want to have to click stuff anymore, then you can hit Control Enter to accept as well. And you'll see this has populated down this entire column the same formula we were using, just with its appropriate reference cell. So say we hadn't have hit the check box, right? Maybe we hit the X instead. So right now I want you to hit Control Z, and that's going to undo that last command you gave it, which was the accepting of the autofill. If you only have this one name and never initially did the autofill, then don't undo that. I want you to get to a place where you've got this name populated correctly based on this function. And what we're going to do now is this blue dot in the bottom right-hand corner, we're going to double click it. And what that's done, it has dragged down and copied the formula. I'm sorry, I don't know why I keep hesitating on the word formula. The formula down this column, and that will populate down as long or as far as you have data in the cell to the left of it, right? So it doesn't care about these cells. It only cares about these cells for the purpose of copying down automatically for you. Now we could have just as easily clicked and dragged as far as we wanted that to go, which is what most people knew this could do. But they have added that functionality of a double click for the times when you've got thousands and thousands and thousands of names, which I do on regular occasions when when you're talking about 850 kids making spreadsheets. So that's a great way to capitalize all of these names. Now, something important to keep in mind is that each of these names are capitalized now only because of the formula we have executed. And right, once we click back into it, you'll see it gives you those reference cells again. But we want to make this so that it doesn't have that reference behind it, and so that these are the way these names permanently look, right? I'm never, ever in my use of this spreadsheet going to need to go back to a place where these kids' names are lowercase again. That's a formatting issue that I'm just never going to need to do again. So what we're going to do is we're going to select all of the names that are now appropriately capitalized that are associated with a formula that we don't want to be there, and we're going to copy it. You can hit Control-C on your keyboard. You can also hit Edit Copy. Edit Copy? Yeah, Edit Copy. So we're going to copy it. I'm going to click into B2. And this time I'm going to paste, but I'm going to paste with some added flair. When in most, Lord help me, in most platforms, there we go, when you want to select something, you can select things, and this will make sense here in a second. You can select things, multiple things in a row, by holding the shift and clicking between where you want that selection to be. You can also instead do multiple selections by holding the Control key. So those are two very important selection keys on your keyboard. And for the purpose of what we're about to do, we need both of those. So we're going to click into B2, and we're going to hold Shift Control, and then we're going to hit the V, which typically would be Control V to paste something that has been copied. But we're going to add that Shift key, and when we do, it's going to paste this exact same information, but you'll see it doesn't have that formula behind it. So what we've done is we've pasted without formatting. It just takes off whatever hidden formatting was behind this. This works the same way if I were to, let me clean that out. If I were to take this first name, which clearly has formatting on it, right? It's red, it's bolded, it's got white font. If I wanted to copy that and then paste that into this cell, you're going to see that it's going to populate into what was already here. I'll give you another example. It's going to populate into whatever formatting was already living in that cell. So all that is pasting without formatting. So now that I have my last names capitalized, no longer tied to a reference cell, I can delete this column. I no longer need it. It served its purpose. It's helped me. I can move on. Right click, delete. All right. Next thing we're going to do is we are going to, oh, this was the fun one. Down here at the bottom, I want you to go ahead and add 1,000 more rows. Right? This is one of my absolute nightmares. But, and you'll see one of the things I do most often in a spreadsheet as soon as I get into it. You'll see I've now have 1,000 extra lines that I absolutely do not need. For the sake of this, will only ever have the need to use 25 lines of data. I don't need the extra 1,000. For the purpose of being visually clean, which I'm one of those people that just really likes things to be clean as I'm working in them, I'm going to select the first blank row that I no longer want. And I'm going to select it by clicking the 26 in this case, and it's going to select that whole row. As we were talking about earlier, we were talking about holding the Shift key to be able to select a lot of things. And in this case, we're doing something extra fun, so we're going to need that Control as well. So we're going to hold Shift, Control, and we're just going to hit the down arrow on our keyboard. And that's going to pop all the way down and select every every column from wherever you, or excuse me, every row from wherever you started all the way to the bottom. I'm gonna right click and delete all these rows. That works just the same as if I were to have columns over here. I could select the H column, hold Shift Control and hit the right arrow key and delete those. It's a great selection, a great way to make large selections in a direction. So that's a fun one. Next, we're going to talk about flipping and rotating text. So we'll hit this Add a Sheet button. That's going to give us a brand new sheet. Yay, well done, right? Fun things to know about sheets, these tabs. You can, one, double click them to rename them. New sheet. And, oh, meant that to be an exclamation mark, but it wasn't. We can hit this arrow and it gives us all sorts of options with this sheet. Yes, we can hit move right or left. You can also click and drag them to reorder them. I get asked a lot, how do you change the color of them? Very simple, right? Get a clean color. Okay, over here on formatting, I'm gonna grab just 5 names. It could be 6, it could be 10, doesn't really matter for the purpose of this, but you just need a handful of first names. Don't grab last names, don't do anything else, just first names. We're gonna copy that selection, Control C, and you'll notice it's copied because it's now got those marching ants around it, those that dotted blue line around it. We're gonna click into New Sheets, and we're gonna paste it in here. Now, we're gonna do a different kind of paste because we're gonna do something fun with it. So we're gonna come up here to Edit, Paste Special, Transpose. And when we do that, it's going to take the data that was in a vertical listing to a horizontal listing. Use case for this could be if you were given data and things were actually backwards from how you would want them to be, right? Things are lined up on the vertical that you would prefer to be across the top on a horizontal. So that's something fun as well. While we're here, I'm going to select those names and go to Format, Rotation, because I just always think this is so fun and something I get asked all the time. Hey, someone sent me something and it had tilted words at the top. How did they do that? They're going to go to Rotation, Tilt Up. And you can play with any of those. They are a lot of different options there. You can resize those, however wide you want them. And another question I get is, how do I put the lines between them? The one I saw had lines between them. I love that. You're going to select them, come up here to the borders, which is the 4 box, and put some borders around them. This can get a little visually aggressive if you've got a lot of text in one box. Then it will start to do some crazy things. So I don't recommend this with a lot of heavy text titles, but for shorter ones, like maybe kids' names, that's a great option. Next thing we're gonna do is unique, which is a fun one I love. So there's 2 different options here that we're going to execute this. We've got a list of ID numbers and they are repetitive. You're just gonna have to trust me. There's more than one copy of many of these particular ID numbers. Now, when we're looking at this, I want to get just the base number, like the initial singular of which ID numbers have completed this task. You could do this for a form if they've submitted something a bunch of times and you're like, I just want to make sure they at least submit it once. What we're going to do is under the word unique, we are going to hit an equal sign and type the word unique. And again, this says unique rows in the provided source range. I'm going to click it. I would like to know what on earth it wants, right? Because again, I don't use this that often, so what on earth is it going to ask me to do? Anytime that there is this dark box highlighting, which by the way, you can click and it gives you more examples, but when you see this dark box, that tells you that's where you are in the process. That's the next thing you need to focus on to make this formula executable. Anything that has these brackets, these square brackets, are optional. You don't have to do them. If for some reason you need to get into some more complex formulaic executions, then you may need some of these, and we'll use those in later videos, some of those optional things. But for the purpose of this unique range, we don't really need much, right? We just need to know, what data source are you trying to ask me to find the unique values of? I'm going to exit out of that, and I'm going to click and drag all of these boxes. I can hit enter and it's going to automatically populate that ending parentheses, or you can type it in and hit enter. Now you'll see all of the unique ID numbers that are included in this particular data set. So there are actually only 33 unique ID numbers, despite being so many listed here. Another way to do this, and you'll also notice in this first tab, or excuse me, this first cell, is where that formula is going to live. It's not going to live down here. It's going to live up here in C2 for this particular formula. For this column, we're going to do this a different way, something that's a little bit more permanent, but I want you to know that it's available to you. We can select the entire column by clicking E, go up to Data, and Data Cleanup, remove duplicates. There's some really fun things when you start to actually look through these drop-down menus. For instance, trim white space, get rid of extra cells you don't need, or ask it to suggest some things for you. It's really interesting to see some of the things it suggests sometimes, but remove duplicates, and it's going to ask you to make sure that it is applying that operation how you intended it to be applied. So it says row 56, or there's 56 rows, one column selected. My particular column that I grabbed, because I clicked E, it does have a header row, right? And I don't want that to disappear for the purpose of this. And then what I want it to analyze is everything in column E. Remove duplicates. It tells you 22 duplicate rows were found, and now there are 33 unique rows remaining. You hit OK, and you'll notice the big difference here is that in E2, there's not a formula like we saw in C2. E2 doesn't have a formula. This is permanent. Moving forward, this is going to be hard to undo once you've started executing other things. So if you're the type like myself that thinks maybe I'm going to need this particular piece of information again, then I do suggest going with the more temporary way of having this short list here. And if you needed to save this unique list without there being a formula behind it, you would select these ID numbers, copy them, click to where you want them to live without formatting, hold Shift, Control, and V, and that repastes them without that formula bar behind it. Okay, that's what we have for this video. Thank you for watching so far. I appreciate you.